Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Topical English Vocabulary with me, Teacher Tiffany. In this week's episode, I am going to teach you 5 new English terms about climate policy. Now, this is something that comes up very often in conversations in America. So you as an English learner want to make sure you at least know 5 terms that will help you speak English confidently about this topic. So, my friend, are you ready? Well then, let's jump right in. Now again, this is a topic that maybe you've never spoken about in English, climate policy. But these terms will help you as you move forward on your English journey. The very first one I want to make sure you understand is renewable energy. Good, I want you to repeat after me. Again, renewable energy. Excellent. Last time after me. Here we go. Renewable energy. Excellent. All right. I guarantee this is a term that will come up when you're speaking about climate policy. So what does this term renewable energy actually mean? Here's the definition of this term. Energy derived from natural sources that are replenished on a human time scale, such as solar, wind, and hydro power. I was watching a YouTube video to help you kind of visualize this term. I was watching a YouTube video and I'm very interested in tiny homes, tiny home living. And this couple had purchased a home. It was very small, maybe about, 400 square feet possibly. They had bought a shipping container, right? A large shipping container. And they were talking about how they set everything up. And as the person that was recording them walked to their backyard, there was this large structure. And the person explained that they collected rainwater whenever it rained. And this large structure held all of the water. And it was able to help power their home. Again, going back to the definition, we have hydropower, which refers to water. Again, we're talking about renewable energy, solar power, wind, like you've seen those windmills that kind of turn, right? And now we have hydropower, the water creating energy or power that is needed. Make sense? Yes, this is all referring to renewable energy. So let's check out these example sentences. Here we go. Shifting to renewable energy sources is a key component of climate policy aimed at reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Next. Many countries are investing heavily in renewable energy infrastructure to meet their climate targets and ensure sustainable growth. And finally, solar panels and wind turbines are common examples of renewable energy technologies being adopted worldwide. This is a topic that is being spoken about all the time because windmills, solar power, hydropower, these are things that people want to utilize more of because they want to reduce their usage of fossil fuels or oil and things of that nature. Make sense? Yes. So once again, after me, renewable energy. Excellent. All right. So we have this term renewable energy, and now we're going to move to our second term. Our second term, speaking about climate policy, is greenhouse gas emissions. I can just imagine your eyes getting bigger with each word I added to the term. Don't worry, I'm going to explain it. So again, greenhouse gas emissions. So after me, let's do it word by word. Greenhouse. Good. Gas. Excellent. Emissions. Great job. Now the entire term after me. Greenhouse gas emissions. Excellent. All right. So now we need to break down this term, greenhouse gas emissions. What does this actually mean? So greenhouse gas emissions just refers to gases released into the atmosphere that trap heat, contributing to global warming and climate change. Examples include carbon dioxide, or CO2, and methane, CH4. So the key to this term is understanding that we're referring to gases released into the atmosphere that trap heat. Gases released into the atmosphere that trap heat. All right, I want you to try to visualize that and realize that this term, again, greenhouse gas emissions, is referring to this. So the way I want you to remember greenhouse gas emissions, think about a greenhouse, right? Have you ever seen a greenhouse? For example, in certain countries, I'm going to try to draw this for those that are watching, right? In certain countries, it is extremely cold mainly a large portion of the year. But if someone still wants to grow plants, right? They still want to be able to grow things without their plants freezing, right? Without their plants actually not being able to grow because of the weather, right? So they might build a greenhouse, and normally they're plastic, right? Plastic, or I think you can also make them from glass, right? And what happens is someone is providing this protective layer over their plants. So let's actually make a plant that's green. Here we go. Okay, so inside of that greenhouse, the person starts growing several plants, right? Because the plants are protected inside of this greenhouse. Why? Because it is trapping the heat. So these plants are able to grow in the greenhouse. Again, this is what a greenhouse looks like for those watching the video. Again, this is what a greenhouse looks like. So again, as we're referring to this term, the greenhouse gas emissions, we're talking about the gases that emit and trap the heat. Kind of makes sense? Yes, you got it. All right. So let's check out these example sentences. Here's the first one. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is essential for slowing the pace of climate change and limiting its impacts. Next, policies aimed at curbing greenhouse gas emissions often include regulations on industrial processes and incentives for cleaner technologies. And finally, monitoring and reporting greenhouse gas emissions helps track progress toward national and international climate goals. You got it? Again, greenhouse gas emissions. Excellent. Now again, this term is a bit complex, but don't forget, we are speaking about climate policy, a very complex topic, but I want you to be able to speak about it with confidence. So let's move now to our third term. Our third term is climate resilience. Here we go. Climate resilience. Say the first word after me. Climate. Good. Now the second one. Resilience. Excellent. Now both words, this entire term together after me. Climate resilience. Excellent. All right. So we have this third term, again, speaking about climate policy, the third term being climate resilience. This term, climate resilience, it literally just refers to the capacity of systems, communities, and ecosystems to anticipate, prepare for, and respond to climate-related disruptions and stresses. The term resilience means the ability to bounce back or to move forward or to progress despite challenges, difficulties, or trials. Resilience. So when we have this term climate resilience, we're talking about systems, communities, and ecosystems' abilities to anticipate or prepare for climate-related disruptions. That kind of makes sense? All right, now let's check out these example sentences because they're going to help you even more. Here we go. Building climate resilience involves investing in infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather events and other climate impacts. I want you to think about a tornado, right? Tornado just turning, right? You have this twister, and people know that in this area, tornadoes are very common. So how can you prepare for a tornado? How can you see, the climate of this area, it really includes lots of tornadoes. So in order for me to withstand the tornado, I must build a structure that is strong enough to withstand the winds. This is a part of climate resilience. You got it? Yes. All right, here we go. Moving on now to sentence number 2. Enhancing climate resilience in agriculture may involve developing drought-resistant crops and improving water management practices. And next, community-based projects that focus on climate resilience can help vulnerable populations adapt to changing environmental conditions. You got it? Excellent. So again, our third term after me is climate resilience. Excellent. All right. So we have these 3 terms so far, again, about the topic climate policy. Our 4th term that we're going to dive into is carbon offset. Good. The first word after me, carbon. Good. Second word, offset. Great job. Now the entire term, both words together after me. Carbon offset. Excellent. All right. So we have this term carbon offset, but what in the world does this mean? All right. Carbon offset refers to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions we spoke about earlier, such as through planting trees or investing in renewable energy projects used to compensate for emissions produced elsewhere. Once again, carbon offset, right? We're trying to offset something. A reduction in greenhouse gas emissions through doing what? For example, planting trees or investing in renewable energy projects. You're trying to offset something. Check out the example sentences because they'll help you understand this term more. Many companies purchase carbon offsets to balance out their carbon emissions and meet sustainability targets. Next, carbon offset programs can support a variety of projects from reforestation to renewable energy development. And finally, while carbon offsets can help mitigate climate impact, they are often considered a supplementary measure rather than a primary solution. You got it? Yes. So again, the 4th term is carbon offset. Excellent. All right. So we have 4 terms again speaking about climate policy. Now this 5th term is another one that you need to understand because it's mentioned very often. The 5th term is climate agreement. Repeat after me, both words together. Climate agreement. Good. Again after me, last time. Climate agreement. Excellent. All right. So we have this term climate agreement. What is it referring to? All right. So the climate agreement, it literally just refers to an international or national treaty or pact aimed at addressing climate change by setting emission reduction targets and other environmental goals. Coming together, hey, This is what we're going to put in place as a protocol to make sure we are keeping our climate, to make sure we are monitoring the emissions, we're monitoring what's going on. Again, an international or national treaty or pact aimed at addressing climate change by doing what? Setting emission reduction targets. So check out this example sentence, the first one. The Paris Agreement is a landmark climate agreement that brings countries together to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius. Next, effective implementation of climate agreements requires cooperation and commitment from all participating nations. And finally, new climate agreements often set more ambitious targets as scientific understanding of climate change evolves. You got it? Excellent. So again, number 5, our 5th term is climate agreement. Great job. Remember, we're speaking about this topic of climate policy. We have these 5 terms: renewable energy, greenhouse gas emissions, climate resilience, carbon offset, and climate agreement. So how can we use these terms in one paragraph? I want you to listen closely and to see if you recognize the terms and understand what is being said. Here we go. Climate policy refers to the government regulations and initiatives aimed at addressing climate change. International climate agreements, such as the Paris Agreement, establish goals or global goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and promote climate resilience. To achieve these goals, countries implement various strategies, including carbon offset programs, which allow individuals and organizations to compensate for their emissions by supporting carbon reduction projects. Investing in renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power is another crucial aspect of climate policy, as it helps to transition away from fossil fuels and reduce emissions. Now, if I had read that paragraph before teaching you the 5 terms, you might have been confused. But now that you know these terms, you were able to, and you will be able to moving forward, speak about climate policy and understand when people are discussing it. My friend, I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned a lot. And don't forget, everything that I taught in this lesson, the 5 terms, came from the Daily English Vocabulary newsletter, a free email newsletter that I send out from Sunday to Friday, every day from Sunday to Friday, to help you improve your vocabulary. So all you have to do is go to www.dailyenglishvocabulary.com, enter your email, and I will start sending you emails each day. I'll talk to you in the next lesson.